Hello, folks. How are you? Today we're live on the Wealth Lab. My name, as you can see, is DeForest B. Soaries Jr. You don't know me. And 21 years ago, we started this effort that has turned into a movement. We call it DFREE, freedom from and freedom to. All freedom is aimed at being free from something in order to be free to something. And our freedom to represents our financial goals. Goal number one is having savings, deposits that we can use in times of emergency, that we can use to cover expenses without having to use high interest credit cards, deposits. That's freedom two, D number one. D number two is dividends, getting checks every month, every quarter based on our investments. I'm on the board of a real estate investment trust, and we will send you 17 cents for every share that you own in our company every 3 months. We went up from 16 cents to 17 cents earlier this year. Those are dividends. I tell people who are willing to listen that the dividend checks that I receive today from my investments are larger than the paychecks I received when I first started working. Now, of course, the cost of living is going up. Inflation has caused the impact of the dollar to go down. However, point is, you can earn money when you allow your money to work for you. So we want our community, we want our people, we want our friends and our family members to use money wisely enough to let the money work for them. And one of the key ways to do that is dividends, owning investments that pay you. That's D number two. D number three is deeds. I own real estate, and when you own real estate, you get a deed, your name is on it, and ownership is critical. Now, we say in our instructions, and we'll talk more about that later, that owning a house is not for everybody all the time. I read just the other day about a young lady who literally owns a house but doesn't live there, and she rents an apartment because her ownership is a strategy. It's not a residence. But whether you own a house to live in or own a house as an investment, what you want to make sure ownership does, it contributes to your goals. Ownership is not an emotional achievement, it's a financial achievement. But that's the third D. It's deposits in our own accounts. And we want you to start saving, even if you can only save $5 a week. Start saving. Saving is a muscle, saving is a habit, saving is a lifestyle. So start saving and increase as much as you can, as often as you can. And then deeds, own something, at least study the idea. Go to a first-time homeowner class if you've never owned a home. Study real estate. And then, of course, dividends. Look at stock. We don't give stock advice. We simply advise people to consider owning stock. More people own stock than you realize. If you have a retirement fund at your job, that fund is invested in the stock market. So we have as much interest in the stock market as those who invest directly. But that's the freedom to. Freedom to have deposits, have our names on deeds, and earn dividends. To get there in my own life, what I discovered, there were three barriers. There were three bad Ds that were stopping me from my three good Ds. And the bad Ds were, number one, debt. I was using debt as if it was income. You all know the story. Many of you have read my books. I was using debt, and by using debt as if it was income, a few things were happening. One, I was living above my means, which is the third bad D. I was paying high interest rates. I was paying late fees, and debt was just destroying any possibility of me ever becoming financially free. So the bad D, we start with debt. If you read Say Yes to No Debt, you know that the goal is not to be debt free, but the first step to financial freedom is saying yes to no debt. So you got to get that debt paid. And then the second bad D was delinquencies. I was paying late fees on everything because I was disorganized. But part of what we invite people to do and teach people how to do is to get organized. Make sure you have a system I don't give you a system, but I encourage you to have a system. You don't have to use my system. Some people have an envelope system. Some people put Post-its on refrigerators. Whatever your system is, use a system for keeping up with your bills, because Americans are spending billions of dollars a year just on late fees. We're late on our utility bill. We're late on our credit card payments. We're late on our mortgage. And you want to save that money, because not only are you paying more, but it also impacts your credit negatively depending on what you're late paying. The third bad D that stopped me from being financially free was deficit living. D, deficit. Deficit means that you're living above your means. And it was when I started believing that I should live on 70% of my income. Now that required that I get more income, because 70% of my income would not cover all of my expenses. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I had 70% as my goal. And if I'm living on 125% of my income, then I'm broke all the time. I'm borrowing money to make ends meet. And it's just a stressful lifestyle. In my newest version of the book, Say Yes to No Debt, I talk about the relationship between financial stress and mental health. We did not discuss that in the original DFREE book, but our mental health is impacted by our financial stress. It's harder to sleep when we're financially stressed. It's harder to maintain good relationships when we're financially stressed. We have a new product that we'll be announcing next month for employers. Employees have a hard time being as productive when they're under financial stress. Financial stress causes companies to lose employees and have a challenge in retention. So financial stress is really a big challenge, and living above our means exacerbates that challenge. That's where the challenge comes from. So the bad D's are what we start with. We start with debt delinquencies and deficits, and then we get into, when we get to level 3 of DFREE, we get into assets and investing and insurances. That, for instance, there's a life insurance product we talk about that you can benefit from even while you're alive. I said that I was doing a video recording one day, and I said, you don't have to die to benefit from your life insurance. And the guy behind the camera almost fainted. We had to stop and start over again, because most people think that the only way to benefit from life insurance is to die, which basically means that the benefit goes to someone else. So that's what DFREE is, and that's what DFREE seeks to do. And today our focus is on retirement, but a very particular type of retirement. And I'll tell you more about that after I make some introductory remarks. If you have questions, type them in the chat. If you have a need, and that need is in the area of financial advisement, we've got free advisors for you. If you would like a coach, free coach to kind of walk with you, a certified coach, not somebody who just likes you or likes me, but a certified financial planner, who's gone through a year-long course, taken tests, and gotten certified. There are national standards for certified financial planners. If you want one of those types of people who will walk with you for 3 to 6 months and help you reach your goals, help you finish your budget, help you remain accountable to the things you've said. A lot of people come through our 12-step program. We have other content, but a lot of people come through our 12-step program, and then they'll say, what's next? And often the best what's next is to get a coach, to get someone who will meet with you once a week, ask you questions, hold you accountable, give you insights and information you did not get from the 12-step course. So if you need that, just contact us. Go to dfree.com/get help. And whether it's facing a crisis because you're in foreclosure, or your car's about to be repossessed, or whether you've gotten a windfall. I was with a family in Trenton last week that won millions of dollars in the lottery. And instead of going out and buying boats and cars and clothes, what they did was they got a professional advisor, and that advisor helped them set up a foundation. And now 10 years later, they're not broke. A lot of people that hit these big lotteries, they go broke quickly. But this family had a professional help them structure a foundation, and that foundation now employs people, and the foundation, more importantly, supports other organizations in their community that are helping young people with education and with scholarships and other kinds of community-based endeavors. They fund other organizations because they got a big windfall, and your windfall may not be a lottery. I hope it's not lottery, because the odds of winning the lottery are so crazy that it's not really a great strategy. But your windfall could be a bonus. Your windfall could be an inheritance. Perhaps someone died and left you money in their will. Your windfall could be an insurance claim. But whatever your windfall is, I have a friend who had an accident and they settled for $500,000, and he put that money into an interest-bearing account, and the money has been helping him along the way. But whatever that is, you want a professional to help you think through your options. A financial professional is not in place to tell you what to do. A financial professional is in place to show you your options, to help you figure out the implications of option A versus option B, and then giving you an opportunity to execute on your decision. So whether it's coaching, whether it's a crisis, or whether it's an option that you can discover through financial professional, let us know. Go to dfree.com/get help, and there'll be a drop down menu that'll ask you what kind of help you're looking for, and we'll connect you with to the right resource. And we've got someone who makes sure that our connections actually connect. You know, a lot of times you refer to people, or you know about people, and you fill out a form or you call a number and they never get back to you. That was happening in some instances with us. And so we decided to put somebody in place whose only job is to make sure that people get back to you and that you get back to them. So that's what DFREE is about. And of course, we now have a community where we have activities, we support each other, and the DFREE community members get the news first. We've got probably 7 or 8 significant announcements coming in July and August over the summer. And all of those announcements come to the people who are what we call the DFREE community first. And it's free to join. You join the community. It's, it started as a private Facebook group, but I don't know about you, but I just got sick of Facebook. We still use Facebook for certain purposes because half the planet is on Facebook. But when you're trying to form a community and trying to protect people from the algorithms, the algorithms are the behind the scenes technology that show you things you don't want to see and prevent people from seeing things you want them to see. So we wanted to get away from the algorithms. We wanted to get away from the advertising. We wanted to get away from some of the ratchetness and the noise. And so we formed our own community, which is kind of Facebook-like. You do your profile, and you can post things. And the things that we're inviting people to post are the testimonies from DFREE, information. I put articles on there that I see, and everybody, you can give information that you know about, that the whole community should know about. So it's about building a movement without having to march on Washington. And that is open to you right now. DFREE, you can go to dfree.com and click join the community, or you can go straight to the community, and it's at dfreecommunity.com. So today I wanted to talk about retirement, but in a very narrow way. And although it's a narrow understanding of retirement, by narrow, I mean it doesn't really relate to everybody personally, because I'm focusing on my own retirement and how that retirement informs me to help pastors and clergy and people who work for churches and church-related organizations. So why would I do this for everybody and not just for pastors? Because you may know a pastor. You may not be a pastor. You may not work for a church, but you may know a pastor. You may go to a church that has a marvelous staff. The church, every church has people that work there, the music ministry, ministry, the custodial ministry, the ministerial ministry. And so rather than have this conversation, which is the first of many, just for pastors, I've decided to make this conversation available to everybody, because if you're a pastor, you need to hear it. If you're a church secretary, you need to hear it. If you work for a Christian school that's affiliated with a church, you need to hear this. But more importantly, if you are a member of a church and you care about the people who work there, if you have friends that work for churches and church-related organizations, we need you to take this information and share it with them, because when I travel the country and talk to people, what I've discovered is that people don't know about this. And the only reason I knew about it was because I had a mentor whose name was Reverend Samuel DeWitt Proctor. He was Martin Luther King's mentor. And we're going to talk about Dr. King in a minute. And Dr. Proctor insisted that all of us who were his mentees know about this very specific resource. And he begged us to participate while we were young. And I'll tell you more about how long it took me. But he begged us. And because of our respect for Dr. Proctor, we explored this resource. And now Donald Hilliard, who is my son's godfather, and Bruce Williams, and all of my friends who were under Dr. Proctor have connected. But so many people, I mean, Dr. Proctor only had 200 mentees as ministers only, but he had 200 mentees. But think of all the people out there, not just pastors, but think about all the people out there. When I was at First Baptist, we had a person on staff who did graphic arts. That was her job. She did graphic arts. She was as eligible for what I'm going to tell you about today as I was as the pastor. So I'm speaking very specifically about an organization called MMBB, and I'm happy to have with me today my friend and one of the top executives at MMBB, who is I think he's more passionate than I am, and that's hard to be. But he is passionate about helping churches and church organizations. He's from MMBB, Brother Gerald Deck. Gerald, thank you for being with me today.
Dr. Soaries, thank you so much for inviting me on the show today. And, you know, I will do my best to project, as much excitement as you have for MMBB, but we really appreciate your partnership. We feel like we are walking together with you on this journey to retirement. So I appreciate the opportunity today to talk about something that is near and dear to probably everyone's planning process. And as Dr. Soaries mentioned, my name is Gerald Delk, and I am the Chief Client Services Officer for MMBB. And what that title means is that, my job is to work with my team to ensure that, everyone that we touch is aware of what we offer through MMBB, because we have many solutions to help church employers. But by way of background, so I've been in this business for a number of years, so well over 20 plus years in the investment and finance space. And I will tell you, I have, through my teams, probably met with over 500,000 people. I've not met one who did not have retirement planning as a goal. So that is something that crosses different industries, different individuals, income levels. So it's something that we all want. And what I'd like to do today is to talk briefly about MMBB and really encourage you, throughout this presentation to ask me any questions that you have about retirement or about investing. So things that are on your mind when you think about your path to your retirement security. So what I'm going to do is pull up a presentation, and it's really a brochure that we offer, which I think really captures the retirement sentiment, which includes retirement as well as the investing that comes along with it. So,
Gerald, before you do that, would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Would you start? First of all, I need you to, I'm sure it's in the deck, say exactly what MMBB, what the M's and B's stand for. But I want you to tell the Martin Luther King story first, and then go into your presentation.
Absolutely. Please. So Ministers and Missionaries Benefits Board. So we've been around for over 100 years. And we go back to, one of our founders was Henry Morehouse. And just as the name, so as when I became familiar with that, first thing I thought about was Morehouse College. And so Henry Morehouse is one of the founders of Morehouse College. And as Dr. Soaries mentioned, so the story about Martin Luther King, so Martin Luther King is actually, he was a member. And, that is something that, again, we make available to pastors, but, we signed him up years ago. And so he certainly became someone who that we still think about often. He's included in a lot of our actions today. So and Dr. Soaries, you may be able to tell a little bit better than I can with the passion, but Martin Luther King was a member. And, like Martin Luther King, we have other ministers such as yourselves who I think are doing just phenomenal work in our respective communities today. And it is so much needed given what's happening in this world today. But, this isn't the first time that America or the world has kind of encountered some of the things we're experiencing today. But the organization or the individuals who've been there through every challenge, every struggle has been the religious community. I mean, the religious community will do the right thing and will support. And what we want to do is help you, support you in your calling. So we want you to be able to be out there and minister to your congregations, and more importantly, the community, without having to worry about this whole financial thing related to retirement. We're there to support you. Great. So, Dr. Soaries, I don't know if you have anything else on.
Brother Doug, I was at the Operation Push, the Rainbow Push Coalition conference last week, and of course, you know that I worked with Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I went there to support his son, who is now the new leader. And as I sat there, I reminisced about the days that I worked there. I was in my 20s. I was active. My life was committed to social action and activism and community organizing and supporting Reverend Jackson. But I was broke. And what I said earlier on another platform, that I did not start saving for retirement in my 20s. I did not start saving for retirement in my 30s. I was so committed to the work that these weren't even thoughts that I had. And Dr. King was the same way. Dr. King started in Montgomery, Alabama. He was in his early 20s. Dr. King died at 39, and it was just literally months before he died that MMBB representatives were able to get to him, to have him sign up, and to ensure that if anything happened to him, his family would be taken care of. And sure enough, Dr. King was assassinated shortly after he joined, but because he had signed up in time, his wife received a check from MMBB from the time Dr. King died to the day she died. And it was MMBB that chased him, literally chased him, because it was hard to get to him. His inner circle wouldn't let the MMBB guys get close. And they finally got close enough to him. And he finally sat down, took the time out of his busy work, marching, protesting, going to jail. And so when I left that conference last week, I wrote a Substack about this just today. I want to make sure young activists and young pastors and their staff are not so busy doing the work that they don't step back and think about themselves and their families and their legacies. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. Thank God Dr. King did just in time, and I waited too long, and I'll tell you my story as we proceed. But I didn't start investing with you guys till I was in my mid-40s. But because of how well you grew my money, I was able to retire before I was 70. So go ahead.
No, and thank you, Dr. Soaries. And just an interesting fact there, I think certainly God has ordered my steps. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I lived probably 4 Memphis blocks from Mason Temple. So where, he delivered his last speech sermon, if you will, that wasn't far from where I grew up. And so, like you, I grew up in a civil rights era where there was a lot of activism there. And I saw ministers, community organizers on the front lines. And, I think some of us, sometimes people may not start soon enough, but what we can do at MMBB. So, and Dr. Soaries, I know you'll speak to this, but we can meet you where you are, and we're not going to leave you there. And there are creative solutions to work with not only you as the pastor, but with your employer. So with the combination of your employer and you, we can do some pretty good things in terms of where you're starting. If you feel like you're starting late or you don't have enough, there are creative solutions out there that we can use to help you. And one big thing we really focus on too is the housing allowance. And the housing allowance is a very, very powerful part of the Internal Revenue Code that actually provides extra benefits for pastors, for those in the religious space. And that helps you when it comes to taking withdrawals. And so there is opportunity for a lot of what you will be receiving in terms of your retirement distributions to not experience as much of a tax load, if you will. And I don't want to get too specific because everyone has a unique situation, but the housing allowance, it's something that is available to ministers, and not many financial professionals, CPAs, understand the complexity around that. I mean, I am a CPA, and when someone informed me about the housing allowance, I had to take a step back, and it took me a while just to grasp, that concept. And when I say a while, certainly, working a few weeks or days with my teams, some years ago, and I understand why it's there in the Internal Revenue Code. But we will help you to think through all these things that may not be apparent today to really craft the right plan for you. So what I
do you have a deck that you have some content you'd like to share?
I do have some content, and so the content I want to share, it's a brochure that we offer. And what I love about the brochure is that we began to speak about the path to retirement, and it does involve investing. And so I want to make sure that comes through, because as Dr. Soaries mentioned, when it comes to retirement is considered something that's long term. So we don't want you to have your as my grandmother literally had money under the mattress when I was growing up. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable having your money being invested in the market. And while you may feel like, hey, I understand the market, or maybe I don't understand the market as well. That is not something that there are many ways to get there. When it comes to investing, which can be complex, we can help you along the way. There are other difficult things that come along with investing, and that, as Dr. Soaries mentioned, that is getting started. So we want you to get started, and then we can help you with the investing side. So, and Dr. Soaries, please feel free to jump in here as I'm going through this.
I will.
And let's so we can get this up. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
No.
Nothing up yet. Okay. How about now?
No.
It should be.
Okay, it's coming up now. Yep.
Okay. Okay, just let me know when it's up.
It's up.
I will. Okay, I will keep it in my PDF mode just to ensure that we can get through it. So this is a brochure that we have, and it's one that I can certainly share with everyone on the call today. But it really speaks to the road to retirement, and we believe that starts with just that, just getting started, and then we can help with the the saving and investing for your future. Living faithfully is what we're about. I mean, so that is, our planning, our products. I mean, they're all rooted in, things that are really faithful from the standpoint that we want to support you in your ministry. Now, when it comes to the investing side, we certainly are using, all the current techniques and investment strategies, but we want you to continue to live faithfully, and we want to help you to plan with the highest level of confidence. So from the start, we can certainly help. And let me see if I can get the full screen. Can you guys still see, Dr.
Yep.
Soaries? Okay.
Yep.
So as I just spoke about, I mean, it's about living faithfully, and we'll help you to plan with confidence. And so what we do from the start is we create a path for you, and that is really sitting with you and speaking with you about what your goals are. And we have a team of certified financial planners, and our certified financial planners are, in my opinion, some of the best out there. I've worked with a number of financial planners or CFPs in my day, but we have a team of planners that can certainly help you. And as the right side of the screen, my right anyway, your path is different. So as I mentioned before, we meet you where you are, and everyone's plan is not going to be the same. There may be similarities, but as these 4 boxes are here, I don't want to go through all the text in the boxes, but that's just here to let you know that we're here to meet you where you are today. And some plans are more complex than others, but we'll help you decide what it is.
Two things, Gerald. Thing number
Sure.
one, I'm real active in AI, Chat GPT, Claude, and others. I want you to know, because I've never told you this. I asked Claude a question about my a specific question about my retirement situation, and Claude gave me an answer. I asked my MMBB advisor the same question, and the MMBB advisor gave me the right answer based on the IRS, and Claude gave me the wrong answer. Just know that. So as much as AI, is being touted as the be all end all of human knowledge, my MMBB advisor gave me better information than my AI platform.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I mean, that's important too, because people will hear about AI and other things, but I will say things like AI have been around for a number of years, and planners may use AI to help, but the trust comes into play. And we feel like the trust is something that, we've been able to earn over our 100 plus years in the business. And we'll help you to get it right based on what your goals and objectives are. So certainly people are touting things like AI, but, we believe at the end of the day, you want someone to help you with the nuances. Claude, ChatGPT, they can answer a question, but oftentimes it's the nuances that ChatGPT and others may not pick up on. And so things like the housing allowance, that's a nuance. And so we can make sure that is taken into consideration.
Right. And the second thing, folks, let me remind you, we're talking about pastors, church employees, and church-related entities like Christian schools, colleges, community development corporations, daycare centers, senior adult centers, any church enterprise. And if you don't fit into those categories, take the information to someone who does. And that's why this is for everybody and not just for those people. Okay, Joe.
Absolutely. So here, we'll start with where you are today. And here's an interesting point. I've had many conversations with many individuals, certainly pastors and others. And when I ask, well, how much money do you need for retirement? There's a blank look that comes on someone's face, because it's like, okay, I know I want to retire, but how much do I need? And so we'll help you determine how much you need. And one way to be thinking about this is, most experts will recommend that a person save, anywhere from 15 to 18% of their salary. And that will help someone replace, 70% of their salary. And so how I like to think about this just in everyday language is when your paycheck stops, how much money will go into your bank account? So if you were
Right.
getting a check, every 2 weeks for, I'm just picking an amount here. If you're getting a check for, if it's $1,000, how much, when you retire, how much is going to go into your bank account? Will it be the full 1,000? Will it be something less than that? So that's what we're here to help you with, is to make sure you know with some certainty how much will come into play. And oftentimes, people will look at one source, but there's also Social Security that does fit into the retirement picture. And so we're thinking about the amount of money that comes from the retirement plan. That is, for example, in this example I used, if there is, $500 coming into your check, to your bank account from the retirement plan, if Social Security is providing 200, then that is 70%. So with some certainty that that's what will be coming into play. But we can also help you with even trying to fill in that remaining gap. So our goal is to help you get to a place where you feel comfortable with the income that you will receive, once you stop working. And I explain it simply as when you're on vacation, that check comes in, it's the same $1,000. But when you stop working, you want to understand how much is going to be coming into your bank account. And I do want to pause. I don't know if there are any questions in the studio.
Not yet. We have comments, but no questions yet.
Okay. All right. So here, I'm not going to go through that slide, but the financial planning. So I mentioned the certified financial planners. There are many individuals in this retirement and investing space that have different credentials. Some may not have any credentials. But for us, we believe in having what we consider to be, or what the industry considers to be, the gold standard. And that is having a team of certified financial planners. And when you become a member, you have access to a certified financial planner at no additional cost. And I do want to stop there, because that's a valuable benefit that is offered. And, this is someone who's at the highest level when it comes to financial planning. And our planners have been in this space for many years. And we have several planners who are also ordained ministers. So they certainly understand, they can relate to you and what you're doing every day. And so I want to make sure that I do mention that we have CFPs who are ordained ministers. And even within MMBB, we have a number of ordained clergy. As a matter of fact, our CEO, Reverend Dr. Perry Hopper, he is also an ordained pastor. So we have many individuals on our respective teams who can certainly help. And I've had quite a bit of experience as a volunteer church administrator. So we all get it. And so we believe in the financial planning. So we help you to build whatever the portfolios, that are needed. Our investment funds are on par with any organization that's out there. And so we work with Fidelity. So Fidelity helps us to ensure to what we call them as our record keeper, but they're the ones that actually help us when it comes to ensuring that the right education plans are in place. And we work very closely with Fidelity because we also have a website that has robust education there, but the funds are actually held on the Fidelity platform. So that's a powerful partnership working to ensure that, we're going to be meeting your needs well into the future. It's pretty easy in terms of how we get started. We have three plans, retirement plans that are out there, and one is the comprehensive plan, and that is one where the church employer makes the decision to actually create a plan on behalf of the employee. So whether it's the clergy or the lay employee, a certain percentage of the salary is charged. It's called the premium. And a large percentage of that, probably over 90% of that, goes into an investment fund. And the other remaining percentage points, I'll highlight just a couple of those. There is a death and disability benefit that comes along with that. These are powerful. I have many stories where someone goes on disability, and when they do, the retirement premium continues to be paid. So monies continue to go into the investment fund. And many experts will say that someone is more likely to become disabled for a short period or maybe even a longer period than they are when it comes to the death side of things. But
Right.
we do have that benefit built in, so that's powerful. Having that disability plan already built in, and that protects the employer too. So again, when the pastor is not there, they're disabled, the premium continues to be paid by MMBB, not the church.
And that's before 65, Brother Doug. You're more likely to be disabled before 65 than you are to die before you're 65.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Soaries. That's a very good point, and that's one oftentimes that we may not think about that, but I think if we step back and we began to kind of just listen to conversations with others, I think we will see that people disability, it's real, and it may not last for a long period of time, but that is certainly a risk as we approach the age 65. So the three plans I mentioned, one is a comprehensive plan. That does require a premium on the part of the employer. The other plan is a retirement only. The retirement only plan is also one where the church employer will make contributions at their own percentage choice. So they're not obligated to do a set premium amount. For example, for the comprehensive plan, that premium will range from 13% to 16% of salary, whereas something that's called the retirement only plan, there is no premium. The only thing is the employer has agreed to make a certain contribution, and it does not have to be monthly. It can be something that's periodic, and so that's one that provides the flexibility to have the commitment to the pastor, to the lay employee, but it may not be on a monthly basis. And
Yeah.
then
So, Brother Doug, what I
sure.
and I learned this from Dr. Thomas Boyd at Salem Baptist Church in Brooklyn. What I did was my church put into that comprehensive plan, but when I went out on preaching and speaking engagements, I took that money, and that wasn't every week, of course, but I took that money and put it into that second plan. And I did that I did that up to the end of last year. All of my outside speaking and preaching would go into that plan as it came in. And that's one of the ways I was able to catch up for what I consider to be almost 20 years of being late in starting to plan for retirement.
No, Dr. Soaries, thank you for bringing that up, because that when I spoke early about, maybe, someone started early, they weren't able to put in as much as they wanted, or they just didn't start until later. That's the power of that retirement only plan. So there is certainly that comprehensive plan that an employer can invest in on behalf of the pastor, but they can also do the retirement only. So in a given year, in 2026, the total amount of money that can be put into a retirement plan is $72,000. And there is a breakdown between the employer and the employee in terms of their contributions. And so that is one of the powerful ways in which someone can certainly catch up, if you will, when it comes to the retirement space. The other plan that's also powerful is a member contribution only. And so this is where the employer is not making a contribution, the member is making the contribution. So the power of this becomes, I've seen it where if we're thinking about how to structure something, I've seen it where the employer is in the contribution plan, and they're also making a contribution in the retirement only. So in this example, the employer is making contribution to two plans, and then the employee can also use the member contribution. And
I did
that is
one too. I had all three.
Okay.
I had all three. The first one was all employer. The second one was a mix of my employer and me, and the third one was me. I ended up living on 51% of my income and putting 49% into this plan because I was so far behind. I didn't buy any new ties. I didn't buy any new suits. I didn't buy any new shoes for years because I was so far behind, and I didn't want to have to work at Walmart or Home Depot when I was 80, helping people check out of the store. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't want to do it. So I had all three plans, and all three plans positioned me to reach my goal of retiring before I was 70.
And thank you for sharing. That's the power of the three plans. So there can be one, but when you have three plans working for you, that accelerates your path to retirement. I do want to pause here for any questions. I mean, that's the end of my presentation. I welcome the questions, but more importantly, we welcome the opportunity to connect with you outside of the webinar today.
So my question that I want to ask, so that it's on the record when people show up after, most of our viewers will view after we're live. So I want to make sure I get their questions in. We've talked about pastors. There are two caveats. Well, one caveat and one expansion. One is you can't serve pastors who belong to denominations that have their own retirement plans, correct? For instance, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
No. So in terms of who can participate in our plans,
yes.
So it's certainly it's a wide range, and it comes down to how we share the philosophy, the different polities that are there. So we have clients today, American Baptist churches, we have progressive Baptist churches, we have non-denominational churches, and so we feel like we can provide plans for a wide range of denominations.
Right. Okay. And then talk about something I didn't know until just a few years after I got in. Talk about the non-clergy participants and what their eligibility is.
So for the non-clergy, so the requirement is that they be a paid staff person. Okay. So regardless as to if they work 300 hours a year or 2,000 hours a year, they are eligible to participate. So sometimes there's this thought that, well, they're part-time, they are not eligible. Well, that's not true. As long as they're a paid employee, there is no line that's drawn in terms of number of hours, even the amount of money that someone is making. And we certainly have seen where, there may be some amounts where people are contributing, which folks may think that's not a lot. But here's the power. It's the power of compounding. And so you start out with a very small amount today that has the power to grow significantly. If you're thinking over a 20 to 30 year period, I mean, I've seen situations where someone is contributing $100 a month for 30 years. That grows to a significant sum of money, assuming, market conditions are what we hope they are and what we're planning for. But that's an opportunity for someone to, if they're working part-time, and if they have the salary that's coming from their church employer as a part-time employee, that is something that really helps to supercharge their overall investment. So it's not always about the money, it is about the consistency of the contributions that are going into a plan. But every employee who is paid is eligible.
Great. And now, Gerald, I have 4 or it may be 5 retirement plans, retirement accounts. I've got MMBB, then I've got 3 or 4 outside of MMBB. One of them was formed, because I was a teacher. When you teach in New Jersey, I taught at 4 colleges or universities, and they automatically put into a retirement account. They have contracts with these companies. Well, I took something out of one of my retirement accounts that was there from teaching, and they took out 20% taxes just off the top. So I think it was like $20,000, and they sent me a check for like 16,000.
Yeah.
When I withdraw money from MMBB, that's not going to happen to me. Explain why.
So when you when you're in a comprehensive plan, for example, if you are permitted to withdraw a certain amount of money over the life of your participation in the plan. And when you withdraw that money, it is not taxed. So there's no withholding. So we will send you the amount that you requested. If you requested $5,000, that is the amount that you receive. So that is one of the benefits of being in a comprehensive plan, because there's flexibility. So you have access to your money while you are still working, and that's powerful. So that's a very good question, and it's one that certainly goes. People don't think about it often, and when they receive the check, they go, "Well, I requested X amount, and it's something less than that," and that is because employers are subjected to a 20% withholding. That is right off the top. Yes.
Right. Now, much of the money that we put into MMBB is invested in equities in the stock market. And we all know that every, 5 to 7 years, there's a significant dip in the stock market. When the last major dip happened, and I had a pretty substantial amount of money in MMBB, what I realized was that my account in MMBB did not dip as much as the rest of the stock market. And what I discovered was that because MMBB will not allow its members to lose beyond a certain amount of money. So let's let people know about that, because that's completely unique.
That is, and that comes through the comprehensive plan. So we do have what's called a floor, and so we'll ensure that if the market drops by 50%, that your account will not experience that type of decline. And so generally, it's something that's no more than about a 10% drop. So that protects you to ensure that for the long term, that principal balance is not, it doesn't have to be reset at something that's much lower than. So there is the floor that's there. So your account will not drop below a certain dollar amount. Even when you start.
I think Brother Doug froze. I think what he was about to say, even when you start late, you froze a bit there. Right after you said, even when you start, that's when you froze.
Yeah. Okay. So once you start to receive, you said, I'm ready to annuitize, I'm ready to retire, and you're getting a certain amount of money in the mail each month. And so when the market begins to go down, that check is not going to go down, but only so much. And so you're actually locked in. Once you start for that 12-month period, you'll receive that same amount. So that's what we call the floor, that ensures that your value will not go down at the same level as the market dips, because as Dr. Soaries mentioned, that bear market, it's out there every 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. but how is that possible? I mean, everybody knows I have a relationship with Prudential, and Prudential has been our partner for 15 years. Prudential can't make that promise to its investors or to its retirees, because there's something MMBB does that other companies don't do to be able to meet that commitment. What is it?
It's a commitment. It is a commitment to our members to help to ensure there's stability when it comes to financial security. So that's a commitment that we make, and that is, it becomes an investment that MMBB is making to ensure that members do not experience significant decline. So it comes back to the commitment, Dr. Soares, and our commitment. We are not here when it comes to, making outsized profits. That's not what we're about. We're here to ensure that, the earnings that we experience, they're going back into, the different funds that we provide to ensure that there is no floor. That there is a floor. The other thing that we ensure with, our earnings, there are things called non-contractual benefits. And so when you're in that comprehensive plan, for example, if you are retired and you run into maybe there's some financial challenges that are there, we do provide grants. And so, for example, if a roof needs to be replaced, if there are some medical bills that are there. So we do have, we've created funds to ensure that our members, active as well as retired, have the ability to contact MMBB, and we will provide assistance. And so these are grants, so they do not have to be repaid. So that's the commitment, and that's what we're doing, where Prudential and others are not doing that. And it is about the commitment. It's about how we want to invest our funds, our returns.
Yeah, it's a different business model. And MMBB, because of its commitment, because of the commitment of the founders and the leaders, it invests money in these extras that other companies just either don't do and frankly aren't set up to do. MMBB was set up to do this, and it's not for the whole world, but it is for the church world. It's for people of faith and the employees of those institutions, and it's built into their financial model. They assume that they're going to need money to fund these kinds of commitments on any given day, and so they budget. They have resources that align with that commitment, and it's. I don't know where I would be today. Well, I do know I'd still be working full time, because MMBB gave me all of the options and the advice that I needed to grow money in 20 years that I should have been trying to grow for 40 years. I mean, we want people to start at 25, putting away at least $100 a month. But when you start in your mid 40s and you don't know where to go and how to do it, you need people who are used to dealing with people like you, first of all, and you need people who have been through what you've been through. I've also I've taken out probably 2 loans along the way. I pay them both back. I took out loans from the value of my assets in MMBB, but when I paid them back, the interest that I paid went to me.
Yes.
It didn't go to MMBB. So I'm borrowing money from myself and paying myself interest. So folks, listen, there's so many unique aspects to MMBB. And I'm telling you, I'm not telling you because I have to. I'm telling you because I've experienced it. I'm the beneficiary of it. It's the Ministers and Missionaries Benefits Board. It was started by the American Baptist churches, but it is no longer. It's independent now. One final question, Brother Del, because this is the key question, I think, for all financial issues. We had the unfortunate instance recently in one of our major denominations of their retirement funds having a very significant negative experience. What is it about MMBB that assures us that it'll be around long enough, if I'm in my 20s, 30s, or 40s, how financially stable is MMBB in terms of assets?
So we have, I think today it's around $3 billion. So we are over $3 billion entity, and that's a significant amount that provides some scale for us. And so when we think about the next 100 years, we are confident that we'll be able to do it. So we're not. We're always, concerned and planning because we want to ensure that every member does receive their retirement check. And so we want to make sure that that those who are they're seminarians today, we want to make sure that we are around for those who are not just in seminary today, but there could be someone who's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're thinking long term, and we do think in time periods that are in that 50 to 100 year bucket. And so when we invest, we are investing for the long term. And so that's how we can ensure, and our history, our track record speaks to the fact that, yes, we are a financially sound organization. We have audits every year from an independent auditor, BDO Seaman. Those are our auditors. And so when they come in and they look at our financial stability, there are no issues that come up. And so we've always gotten what we would say is a clean audit report. So we feel good about where we are financially today as an organization. We are one of the larger organizations. Again, $3 billion investment is a significant amount. We are there for, active employees as well as retirees. Our retirees have never missed a check. And so we are very proud of that fact. And it's been the amount that has been promised, based upon the amounts that's been invested for them. So no one has missed a check. And that is not something we're planning to ensure that there is stability there, but we feel good about the next 100 years.
You couldn't answer that question better than you did. 100 years. Folks, this is not about our lifetime because none of us will be here 100 years from now. Listen, I want to thank you, Brother Doug. This is the beginning of a process that I'm committed to spread the word and spread the wealth, because one, Dr. King's widow, Coretta Scott King, was a friend of mine. Her children were friends. 2 children deceased were friends. The 2 living children are friends. And I just can't tell you how impactful it was for MMBB to be there for the leading Black voice of our community for all of those years. And then MMBB has been there for me. My family could have been in a much different position today had it not been for my taking the advice of St. Proctor. And now the people that I know, Bishop Hilliard and others who are already members, they have the same thing to say. The problem is not enough people know about MMBB, and not enough people who have knowledge of MMBB understand the value that you bring to this community. And you're not the only resource in the world of retirement, but you are the most unique of resources in light of everything you said and some things we didn't have time to get to. So folks, listen, mmbb.org is the website. You can go to the DFREE website, dfree.com/get help. We'll connect you to Brother Delk or anybody on his team, and make sure if you are a pastor, if you work for a church, if you work for a church-related entity like a daycare center or school, or if you go to church and care enough about your leadership. We have churches right now, we're talking to the pastors, and it would help us help them if you would say something about MMBB, because sometimes the pew has more power than any other force. And I could give you in private, I'll give you some names of some churches, but if you're a member, we'd like you to mention it to your pastor and to the leadership. All right.
That was a great segue. I just had one quick comment to make. So we have up to 5,000 church employers who we service today. So that's a large number of employers, and certainly those employers, there are many pastors and lay employees. And so our reach is significant. Again, upwards of 5,000 churches
Right.
who've been with us over the years. And as Dr. Soaries mentioned, we're happy to provide you with any testimonials, but if you wanted to speak with, one of our existing clients, we're happy to make that happen.
Great. Well, listen, folks, this is the Wealth Lab. We've been talking to Gerald Delk, who is an executive at MMBB, Ministers and Missionaries Benefits Board, but we just say MMBB now.
Yes.
And they have been a blessing to me and my family, Dr. King and his family. And we're going to stay on this. We're going to go church by church, pastor by church. And if you're one of my friends that I've called lately, this is why I'm calling you, because I want to make sure that you have access to the resources that have been such a blessing to me. Folks, listen, until next time, we ask that you pray for us. We'll pray for you. And if you have any questions at all, please send us an email. You see right here on the screen, mmbb.org and DFREE.com. Get help. Brother Delk, I'll see you soon. We'll be talking very soon. And God bless you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. All right.